Hey, what's up YouTube? We have Mr. Prestidigitation here with his Fire Kings deck profile for you guys. I'll let him get on into it.
Alright, so recently Fire Kings have been quite popular in the Yu-Gi-Oh! World as one of the big cards from the OCG Fire King Avatar Yaksha finally got brought into the TCG. But to start off my profile, the most important card in the deck, 3 Garunix. This card is quite literally a perpetual dark hole. It comes back, if it's destroyed by card effect, it comes back every standby phase and blows up all other monsters on the field. So if you can get this looping with itself, just every standby phase, the field gets blown up. Then you've got Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys. This is your Heavy Storm. Also, when it's destroyed by card effect and sent to the graveyard, it comes back in your next standby phase, as opposed to Garunix every standby phase, and then it destroys all spells and traps on the field. Then you want 2 Blaster. It's an option to run 3, but I honestly prefer running 2. It can get a little dead, since you don't want to banish too much out of your graveyard to special summon it. And other than that, it's good to, like, if you have a Garunix that's stuck on the field and your opponent's starting to stockpile monsters, you can discard Blaster and a Fire to destroy your Garunix. Then 3 Yaksha. This card is absolutely amazing. If it's destroyed in any way, you can destroy a fire monster either in your hand or on your side of the field. So one of the things that plagued Fire Kings in its early days was that drawing Garunix was just awful. You really had no way around it other than discarding it, or if you ran Foolish Burial, you could get into the graveyard that way, so you could avoid drawing it. But with Yaksha, you can just run Yaksha into one of their monsters and destroy a Garunix out of the hand, and then you have a free Dark Hole next turn. Then you've got 3 Barong. This card, when it's destroyed by card effect, it'll search out any Fire King card from your deck, which includes any of the archetype spell or trap cards. One of the main things it's used for is if you have a Yaksha in your hand, it'll fish out Garunix, or if you have Garunix, you can fish out Yaksha, and then you can get your loop going very easily. You want 3 Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Bear. I've seen some builds run 2, but I think 3 runs really smoothly, because this deck runs tanky, of course, because most of the smaller Fire Kings are Beast Warriors, so tanky will search any of them. And then naturally, Bear gets out tanky if he does battle damage. And it'll also give you more destructive power, because if you have a Garunix stuck on the field and you happen to have a tanky, you can summon Bear and then pop tanky to get rid of Garunix, and then he comes back again next turn as a Dark Hole. As a tech choice, I've added Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Boar. At first glance, he's not very impressive, but he is a tuner and a Beast Warrior at that. And one of the big plays you can make is you can make Crimson Blader out of Boar and any of your level 4s. Since Boar can only be used for the Synchro Summon of a fire monster, that works really well for Blader. And then onto your spells and traps, you want 3 Onslaught of the Fire Kings. When you don't control a monster and your opponent does, you can activate this, and then you can special summon any Fire Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast out of your deck. And then its effects are negated and it's destroyed in the end phase. So to those of you who have been following, one of the best uses for this card is to grab Garunix, and then you have a Dark Hole next turn guaranteed. Unless your opponent happens to have a bottomless set, but there are other cards that can deal with that. Then you want 3 Circle of the Fire Kings. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck because it's an out to almost anything your opponent can do. Like, if you summon Garunix and your opponent happens to have a bottomless trap hole set, or if you attack with Garunix and they have a dimensional prison, you can chain Circle of the Fire Kings to destroy whatever fire monster you have on the field, and then special summon one from your graveyard instead, and so then their effect just falls through. Or one play that I've found very useful is if your opponent happens to make number 11 Big Eye and then they steal your Garunix, or they try to anyway, you can chain Circle of the Fire Kings, destroy their Garunix, or destroy your Garunix, special summon something else, and then their Big Eye still can't attack and it lost a material. Then of course you want to run 2 tanky. This will search out most of the monsters you need to make a play. Not to mention it's fodder for blowing up cards on the field. I run 1 Tensu. I don't often find myself needing it, but it's really nice if I need to go into rank 4 Xyz monster or anything like that. Then I run 3 Pog Duality. I was at 2 for a while, but I pushed it up to 3, and I just found it giving the deck a lot more consistency. And since I don't special summon all that much, it just really helps get my hand set up where I need it to be. And by the time I am ready to special summon, I don't need Duality anyway. So it's just a really safe card to have. Then I run 2 Forbidden Lance. If you don't have Circle of the Fire Kings in your hand, this is your other out to Bottomless Trap Hole or Deep Prison or anything like that. And also if your opponent tries to attack over Garunix with something like Crimson Blader, then you can just chain Lance to that and destroy their monster instead. 3 MST. Even though back row isn't a huge deal for Fire Kings, I still like to have just a little safety net. And some people will run 1 or 2 Gorillas in place of these, but I mean, you can't beat MST. You can set it, activate it during your opponent's turn. It's just a good option. You definitely want a Dark Hole because, I mean, it's a staple, but in this deck it's probably twice as deadly. I mean, if you happen to have a Garunix on the field, then you can just Dark Hole, guaranteed Dark Hole again next turn. Book of Moon, it's just a good card. It's out to a lot of nasty situations. Or if your opponent happens to Veiler any of your monsters, you can Book of Moon it and the effect will still go through in some cases. And onto traps, you want 2 Mirror Force. This is also a really good one for if your opponent tries to attack over Garunix or anything like that. As well as 2 Dimensional Prison. I like Dimensional Prison because it gets around destruction effects, or anti-destruction effects. And then Torrential Tribute, which, like Dark Hole, is especially deadly in this deck because, I mean, it destroys Garunix or any of your Fire King monsters, and since all of them get effects when they're destroyed by card effect, this is just a great card to have in the deck. And then onto the extra deck. This Fire Kings really aren't huge on their extra deck, but it is nice to have. You don't necessarily need it. I often find that I'm fine just looping Garunixes and keeping my opponent's field empty. But one of the things you can run is Diamond Dire Wolf. This card is absolutely amazing in this format. Because you summon it, and then if you have a Garunix on the field or Yaksha or whatever, you can destroy it and one of your opponent's monsters and just plus for days. Gaga Cowboy, I mean, it's a great card. If you need that extra boost, you can burn for game. Maestroke, it's good if you need a wall for while you set up your hand. Photon Pappy, If your opponent has a monster with high defense but low attack, it's great there. I found Evil Swarm Ouroboros to be very good. I mean, it's a great out to Zen mains if you don't have enough, just enough hand power to get rid of it. Or if you happen to have back row set, then you don't want Zen mains getting rid of that. So Ouroboros, you can just send it back to hand and not deal with it anymore. If your opponent happens to run skill drains, I have 2 rank 8s. Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon, you can negate your opponent's monster effects, and if any effect activates on their side of the field during battle phase, it pumps this up by 1,000 and it can attack again. Heliopolis, detach 1, tribute any number of monsters from your hand or side of the field and then destroy an equal number of cards. Then I run a couple synchros. I've got Fire Fist Kirin. It's mainly for the high defense, and it also grabs a Fire Formation card for you. So if you need a tanky, although at that point you probably don't, because it does require 2 Fire Fist monsters to make. And then I run 2 Crimson Blader. It hurts a lot of decks. It's got a lot of attack. It's just a good card. But there's a lot of room in the extra deck. Like if you wanted to add another cowboy or whatever, there's a lot of room for creativity in the extra deck, and it's honestly a really good rank 4 spam deck because a lot of decks will run Rekindling. It special summons as many monsters as possible from your graveyard with 200 defense, which all of the smaller Fire Kings do, like Yaksha and also Barong. And so if you have a lot of these, you just activate Rekindling and then make a lot of XEs. I have that in the side deck at the moment, just because I found it's a little slower with Rekindling, but it's definitely a main deck option. But that's my profile.
As always, guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more. Team D Plus Gaming signing out.